This conference will now be recorded.
Thank you, Holly. So welcome everyone. It's 1 o'clock now, so this is a public planning meeting. We have the absence of our mayor and deputy mayor who would typically chair the meeting. I have asked Councillor Dobreen if she would be willing to chair the meeting, which she accepted. So if any of the other members on the call here have any objection to that, just speak up there. I don't believe there will be. And if not, then I will turn it over to you, Councillor Dobreen, to chair the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk Green. Lindsay, very much appreciated. Welcome, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order, I guess. This is a public meeting concerning proposed zoning bylaw amendments pursuant to Section 34 of the Planning Act. The files that we will be covering today for those on the line are C6 2022, Victor Santos, C321, 1257564, Ontario Inc., C321 and OPA 321 for 1257564, Ontario Inc., C421 Alan D. Martin, C522 JFAB Manufacturing, C721 Mar Bros Construction. We have a full agenda. Welcome, Councillor Shipston. And our planner has been busy. Is Clinton, there he is, I see him. All right. Any person or public body is entitled to attend the public meeting and make written or oral submissions in support of or in opposition to any of the proposed zoning bylaw amendments. Written comments should be submitted to the clerk, Lindsay Green. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Southgate before the zoning bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of Council of the Township of Southgate to the Ontario Land Tribunal. And in addition, they may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal. In the opinion of the board, there are reasonable grounds to do so. Just want to remind everyone that no decision of council will be made today. This is a public meeting to hear comments. The first zoning bylaw amendment is file number, switch over to C6-22, Victor Santos. Bear with me. Oh, I have to get the planning folder. Victor Santos at plan, legal description is plan 480, block F, lot 4, 146 Owen Sound Street. The purpose of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is to rezone the subject property to allow for a duplex dwelling to be established on the property. The proposed use will require relief from the interior side yard setback from 2 meters to 1.5 meters, the front yard setback from 9 meters to 7 meters, and the required number of parking spaces from 4 to 3. The zoning will also recognize the deficient lot frontage. May I have confirmation from the clerk that proper notice was given in accordance with the Planning Act?
Yes, Chair Dobreen, proper notice was given in accordance with the Planning Act.
Thank you. I will now ask for our planner, Clinton Stredwick, to review correspondence received from commenting agencies. Hi, Clinton.
Good afternoon, Chair Dobreen and Council. So as we said, the first application is for Victor Santos, pardon me. So the first comments I have here are from the County of Grey. County staff have reviewed the zoning and have no comments or concerns. The Public Works Department indicate a safe access can be provided. It's an urban asphalt road standard. it says the splitting of water and sewer surfaces may have to be altered or hook up to mains and installed at developers' cost to meet their needs. The wellhead protection area is B and C for this area from the Risk Management Office, applicable to dense non-aqueous phase liquids, and the products are managed by education and outreach programs. The frontage portion of the lot is in the WEPA B area, and the rear of the lot is the WEPA C area. Continuing on, the historic D have no objection or opposition. The Grand River Conservation Authority staff have reviewed the above noted application for a zoning bylaw amendment and have no objection to the approval of application C622, as it does not contain any watercourses, floodplains, shorelines, wetlands, etc. Just seeing if that's all of them here. Okay, so that's all of the commenting agency comments. I do have 2 comments from members of the public, if you'd like me to read those now.
Yes, please. Please proceed.
So the first one I have is from Mahoney and Indy Harupal. Sorry if I mispronounced that name. It says, it's good to hear that the abandoned house on 146 Owen Sound Street will be replaced with a new build. However, expanding the new building to the sides and front is not necessary. The lot is deep, which allows for a long building. The boundary line is already very close to the houses on both sides. The expansion would overpower them, especially the bungalow to the left, and will not fit in with the already existing houses on the street. On our first visit years ago to Dundalk, we fell in love with the rustic, serene feel and appearance of the town. We made an offer on the first house we saw on that day. As owners that live here in Dundalk, we believe that there are lots of modernization happening all around the town, that we should at least do all we can to preserve the interiors of the town by maintaining the uniqueness. Hopefully at the meeting we will get some information and clarity about the intended structure so that we can work together with Mr. Santos as he embarks upon his project. We would like to speak at the meeting, and we would like to get a copy of the decision. Thank you. Just one note on that, there will be no decision today on any of the files. This is just to hear public comments. The decision would come at a later date of council. So the second comments we have are from Trevor Hald, H-A-L-D. They wish to speak at the meeting. I believe that it is a good thing that the house is set to be developed. However, the proposed setbacks proximity to the adjacent houses may cause issues. As an excavating contractor, I believe that during the digging process of the proposed duplex will affect the house to the immediate left, being 134 Owen Sound Street. With a full basement excavation in order to remain a safe work site, the top of the excavation may be on the property of 134. Also, the drainage may be an issue. Unless the drainage is managed properly, there may be issues in the future. These are not objections to the development itself. These are concerns of the current families and neighbors living nearby. We also would like to request that if the development is to be pushed forward as stated, we would ask that the property to be fenced with six foot property fencing, privacy fencing on the east and west sides of the property, This request is to maintain safety and to benefit all tenants and neighbors. And that is all of the comments I have on that file.
Thank you, Clinton. I will now ask, are there any questions or discussions from council at this time? Hearing none, I will now ask if the applicant or agent is present, please unmute yourself. Please identify yourself and state your name for the record. Would you like to make any representation on your application at this time?
Yes, good afternoon, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is David Eagleman, and I am a planner from Design Plan Services here on behalf of the owner representing this application.
Well, welcome. Please
Thank
proceed.
you. Yes, so through you, Madam Chair, this is a fairly straightforward application. We are proposing a duplex dwelling that will appear from the street as a single detached dwelling and will be in keeping with the character of the neighborhood. We are proposing to change the existing zoning, which is R2, to R3 exception zone to permit the reduced side yard setback, to permit the reduced front yard setback, the reduced parking rate, and also to recognize the existing lot frontage. The side yard setback is for the west side, which is abutting the dwelling at 134 Owen Sound, and it will be a side yard setback of 1.5 meters where 2 meters is required. The front yard setback is proposed at 7 meters where 9 meters was required. 3 parking spaces are proposed where 4 are required, and the existing lot frontage is 15.23 meters where the current zoning requires 15 meters. So it is a fairly minor zoning bylaw amendment, straightforward proposal, and we are here to listen to the public's comments. I have heard them and noted them, and we will, take those back and seek to potentially address all the comments that we have heard today.
Thank you. Is there anyone present who would like to make a submission in support of this application? Please note that you will be required to state your full name and address for the clerk while at the virtual podium. Okay, I'm not hearing any. Is there anyone present who would like to make a submission in opposition to this application? You may unmute yourself at this time and state your name for the record.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Trevor Hald. I'm a local resident of the town, currently residing at 772288 Highway 10.
Thank you.
I wrote that letter yesterday. Thank you. That letter with the intention of working with the development. Although with the footprint of the building being the way that it is, as well as the neighborhood the way that it is, I'm just concerned with whether or not it's necessary to be that close to the neighbor's house, if you know what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm sure that these things do happen every day, but whether or not it's completely necessary to expand as much as completely possible to the outer limits of the properties, I'm not 100% certain that that will benefit everybody around. I'm sure it's going to do very well for the applicant himself and his tenants. Again, this is not an argument. I'm just trying to state a bit of a case whether or not it's completely necessary to do so. If it absolutely is, by all means, do what you have to do. I'm just trying to maintain what we're all used to, which is a neighborhood of houses that aren't completely crowded together like the subdivisions that are currently going in. As a contractor, developer, excavator myself, I just have a disdain for the way that houses are sort of placed now, and the older style neighborhoods are something that I personally appreciate, and I'm sure that folks on council do as well. I believe that's all I really have to say, and going forward, working with Mr. Santos would definitely be in our best interest. Thank you everyone for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Howell. Did I say your last name correctly?
Yes, you did.
Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else who would like to make a comment either in favor or opposed to this application? I see Harold Paul.
Mohani. Yes, it's Mohani Harold Paul.
Hi, welcome. Please state your name
Hi.
and your address for the record.
Mohani Harold Paul. We are the owners of 132, 134. I just have one comment. I understand it's a small adjustment on paper, but when you look at it in reality, it's a big inconvenience, because you look at the land and the boundaries between the both houses on both sides, and that makes a big difference. The minor adjustment on paper makes a big difference in reality, in the physical part of it. And that's my concern. The homes being very close, the new build will be close to the homes.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on this file? Okay. Are there any other questions or further discussion from members of council? Martin?
Thank you, Chair. I guess this would be for Clinton. 9 meters to 7 meters, that's basically just over 6 feet. So it is a chunk. Would there be, what's the minimum for safety? You know, for getting, it'll be safe that way. And also where the car garage is being put at the back, do you think there's going to be any snow removal issues? Like would there have to be a drainage thing to put into this house being so tight? That's all to come, but it is a consideration for the two people that have just talked.
Clinton, go ahead.
Thank you. Absolutely, it's a consideration as far as drainage and snow storage and that sort of thing. We do get a lot of it up here, and that would be one of my comments back to the applicants before we bring it forward to council, is to look at addressing that to satisfy the grading and drainage concerns of the neighbors, as well as to look at this issue of that was brought up about whether or not in fact they would have to infringe, I guess, upon the neighbor's yard in order to actually construct the basement and excavate it, because obviously if that's going to occur, then there might be some other issues there. So I would want to see some either justification or some assurance that that isn't going to happen. going forward. As far as the front yard setback, I'm not terribly concerned with that. There are a number of other setbacks in the zones that are 7 meters. So I believe actually our is it R1 it is 7 meters. So that doesn't bother me terribly as far as a front yard setback, but certainly the side yard setback is something that we obviously, as we said, we want to make sure that drainage is going to be addressed, as well as if there's any potential encroachment onto the neighboring property.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from council? I do have a question through either the planner, our planner. When you refer to a duplex, how many units is that? I mean, understanding, you know, the housing crisis and the need for higher density, and, you know, not negating the concerns with regard to the side yard setback. We have no plans, and maybe, you know, they're still in the development stages. How many units are they planning? And how many vehicles normally would be allocated per unit?
Okay, so a duplex is what I call a semi turned on its side. Rather than have them side by side, they're one on the bottom and one on the top. So that's the difference there. It's referring to 2 units. And as it says in the notice, they're going from the requirement of 4 spaces down to 3 spaces, pardon me. So they're requesting relief for 1 space, essentially.
Understood. So thank you for that. It's a stacked semi as opposed to a multi-unit building. And so we, you know, Councillor Shipston mentioned, you know, about fire safety egress and obviously snow storage. That's been discussed. I just see that with the number of people who, you know, may have teens, number of cars, we already have a parking issue in Dundalk. I wouldn't want this to become a further bylaw enforcement issue on the part of the tenants, obviously, or our staff. So that would be my only comment, Clinton. So that concludes this part of for this file. We will move on to the next file. C321 1257564 Ontario Inc. Concession 10, Lot 20. Bear with me, let me get this. In the geographic, I've got to flip from one page to another. My apologies, I'm not as well rehearsed as our mayor. In the geographic township of Egremont, civic address is 104407 Southgate Road 10. The purpose of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application is to implement a condition of consent for a proposed new lot by rezoning the severed lot to residential type 6, R6. The retained lot will be rezoned to prohibit future residential development. The effect of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment would be to change the zoning symbol on a portion of the property for the severed parcel from agricultural A1 to residential type 6, R6. The retained parcel will be zoned from agricultural A1 to agricultural exception, A1, and Clinton always puts in a number there, to prohibit residential development. The environmental protection zone boundary may be adjusted based on Conservation Authority comments. May I please have confirmation from the clerk that proper notice was given in accordance with the Planning Act?
Yes, Chair Dobreen, proper notice was given in accordance with the Planning Act. I can confirm.
Thank you. I will now ask our planner, Clinton Stredwick, to review correspondence received from commenting agencies. Take it over.
Thank you, Chair Dobreen. If I could get the consent sketch just brought up on the screen so everyone can see it, that would be, while I'm talking, that way they can see what's going on. This is one you should be familiar with because we just dealt with it this morning at the consent or the Committee of Adjustment. I'm just trying to pull up the correct file here and not having much luck. There we go. There we go. Okay, so the first set of comments I have is from Bell Canada, and they have no concern or objections. There we go. Thank you. Hydro One has no concerns. The County of Grey indicates that they recently provided comments in relation to the concurrent consent application B13-21. These comments continue to apply to the subject application, and they request notice of the decision. The Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority find the application acceptable. The Historic Saugeen Métis have no concerns or objections. And then the Public Works one basically indicate that there would be an additional entrance required, as well as the road widening, which was discussed at length this morning. And it's a rural gravel road standard, but a safe access can be provided. And those are all of the comments that I've received.
Have you received any comments from the public?
None received.
Okay. Are there any questions or discussion from council at this time? Hearing none, I will now ask if the applicant or agent is present. Please identify yourself by stating your name for the record. Would you like to make any representation regarding your application?
Thank you, Chair Dobreen. It's Genevieve Scott from Questa Planning representing the applicant.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. I don't really have anything further to add. We did go over the application earlier today, but if anyone has any additional questions at this time, I would be happy to provide some answers if I'm able to. And we certainly look forward to a recommendation of approval from the township planner. Thank you very much.
And I'll just remind anyone listening that no decision will be made today, that recommendation from the township planner will come to a future meeting at council. Is there anyone present who would like to make a submission in support of the application? Is there anyone present who would like to make a submission in opposition to this application? Please state your full name and address for the clerk while at the virtual podium. Genevieve, could you mute yourself? That's awesome, thank you. Are there any questions or further discussion from members of council? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the next file, which happens to be the same property, C31-21 and OPA 3-21 for Dwight and Elaine Rundle. Legal description, concession 3, part lot 55, RP16R5912, part 2, former township of Egremont, civic address 391517. Oh, this is a different subject land. I apologize. I apologize. In my agenda, it appeared to have the same Ontario number. Am I on the right file, Lindsay?
Yeah, I kind of wondered that too. I wondered if that was maybe a typo. So we're on C31-21/OPA3-21. Holly, can you just confirm the legal name of this one? I think in the agenda, it might have just been the same as the previous application, which I don't believe is correct.
It is the same owners.
Okay,
Just
thank
on
you.
a different property.
It is.
It's a different location. So I will, please bear with me. All right, we have.
So both you and I, Chair Dobreen, were both you and I were wrong. The agenda was right.
Well, in this case, it's good to be wrong. Applicant is Dwight and Elaine Rundle. Legal description, concession 3, part lot 55, RP16R5912, part 2, former township of Egremont, civic address 391517, Gray Road 9. The purpose of the proposed official plan amendment is to recognize the creation of an undersized agricultural lot in the agricultural designation. The purpose of the zoning bylaw amendment application is to recognize a reduced side yard setback and a reduced lot area for both the severed and retained lots of a proposed consent. The effect of the proposed official plan amendment is to create a special policy designation to recognize the undersized lot creation. The effect of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment would be to rezone the severed and retained lots to agricultural exception zones to recognize the reduced lot areas. It will also recognize a deficient side yard setback. May I please have confirmation from the clerk that proper notice was given in accordance with the Planning Act?
Yes, Chair Dobreen, I can confirm that proper notice was given in accordance with the Planning Act.
I will now ask our planner, Clinton Stredwick, to review correspondence received from commenting agencies.
Thank you, Chair Dobreen. I've brought up the application, pardon me, Holly has brought that up. So everyone can have a look at that, because it is the same applicants as the previous file, just a different location. Essentially, this is a lot addition is what this is. You have a case where there's two, I'll call them medium-sized agricultural lots, and they're adding some of the medium-sized one to the other larger lot, and then creating a smaller lot on Gray Road 109. You'll notice that it takes all of the frontage on Gray Road 109. So to begin with, I'll look at the comments here. So from the Public Works Department, they are indicating that it's County of Gray jurisdiction, being Gray Road 109 on the one side where the development and consent are proposed, and therefore they have no comments. The Historic Saugeen Métis have no objection or opposition. The Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority find the applications are acceptable to the SVCA staff. The County of Grey comments received April 22nd. They've had an opportunity to review. Just going to see if I can summarize it. So the first comment is county transportation services require a 17-foot road widening for utility purposes, but be transferred to the county free and clear. This would be in accordance to their policy regarding that. The county would encourage landowners to work with legal professionals to navigate this process for the road widening and whatnot. For any questions, you can reach out to Lacey Thompson with respect to that at the County of Grey. At this time, staff recommend deferral of the subject application until further follow-up is completed with the province to determine whether a surplus farm dwelling severance approach could be considered in this situation. Should it be determined that this could be considered, an amendment to the county OP may be required along with an amendment to the initial proposal to better align with the provisions under the surplus farm dwelling severance policy section. The county requests notice of any decision rendered with respect to these files. Okay, so as we said, there will be no decision today, and based on that correspondence, I have a feeling we will be hearing from the county and or the province in relation to that aspect. And I believe that is all of the comments, agency comments that I have.
Are there any comments from members of the public?
None received.
Are there any questions or discussion from council at this time? Okay, hearing none, I will now ask if the applicant or agent is present, please identify yourself by stating your name for the record. Would you like to make any representation on your application? Genevieve.
Yes, thank you, Chair Dobreen. Again, we have been retained by Mr. and Mrs. Rundle to prepare the applications to help them create a parcel for residential and agricultural purposes at 391517 Grey Road 9. And I'm just going to give a bit of an overview. The subject property that's located on 109, which is the smaller parcel, that's the parcel that contains the original farmhouse, barn, and outbuildings. And it's got approximately 11 hectares of land. And Mr. and Mrs. Rundle reside right on the adjacent property to the south, and they farm both of these parcels to the north. And what they want to do is sever the farmstead and merge the balance of that property with the agricultural parcel to the east. So no new lots are actually being created from the proposal. The farmstead parcel would include the farmhouse, barn, and outbuildings, as well as some additional land along the frontage of 109 to retain some pasture land for the son of Mr. and Mrs. Rundle, who intends to purchase that portion of the property. Right now, he has some livestock that he has on that site and wishes to retain just a few horses and a few goats on that property. So we just wants a bit of land for pasture along there. Just speaking to a couple of other items, as Clint mentioned, with respect to natural heritage policy, there is a small water course and some wooded areas sort of in the center of the larger parcel, maybe a little bit more to the west. And there is a culvert crossing there, so there is access across that parcel to get to those western lands that would be added. So there's no concerns in that regard, and the Conservation Authority doesn't have any issue with respect to farm access through that portion of the land. We did take a look in a similar way as we did for the proposal discussed earlier today. We did take a look at MDS calculations, although the house is already existing, and minor boundary adjustments don't normally, there's not a requirement necessarily to review MDS. We did take a look at that anyhow, and the new lot configuration would comply with any setbacks in that regard. We also, just to go over a couple of the county comments and some of the reasons they're requesting deferral. One comment that the county did mention in their correspondence was related to aggregate resources area. However, this proposal is not contemplating any new non-agricultural uses at the site, and there's no new lot creation at all really being contemplated. So if you were going to be looking at a pit potentially opening up anywhere in this general location, the house that is on the farmstead parcel is in existence and does not impact any further any type of existing or future pit operation at this location. So when you do a noise study for a pit, it goes to the house, it doesn't go to lot lines, so it doesn't make a difference in that regard. So a couple of other items I just wanted to discuss. This is kind of an interesting application. It's a little unique because it's a lot addition rather than a surplus farm dwelling. So when we were looking at this application, we looked primarily to the requirement of the province related to consents for legal or technical reasons. And one of those items is for minor boundary adjustments, which do not result in the creation of a new lot, which is what we're dealing with here. So, what is minor in this case? Well, minor is not necessarily tied to how large a lot addition is. It's more related to minor from an impact perspective. So in this case, we're adding lands to a larger agricultural parcel, and this should not really affect any viability of the smaller lot, because right now it's about 25 acres and it would end up being about 10 acres. So really there's no impact from an agricultural perspective. So what the subject proposal really will allow Mr. and Mrs. Rundle to enlarge the cash crop portion of their lands while being able to preserve that original farmstead and the current use that is ongoing at that property. So that's about it for me. And if anyone has any questions in that regard, I would be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Genevieve. Is there anyone present who would like to make a submission in support of this application? Is there anyone present who would like to make a submission in opposition to this file? Are there any questions or further discussion from members of council? Martin, Councillor Shipston.
Thank you, Chair DeBreen. Yeah, I would just like to get clarification on the difference between the severance and then the surplus farmhouse. That was one of the things that they put in for deferment, wasn't it? To defer it? Because it looks like it's pretty cut and dried to me. If they're like, why would the province have to get involved? If you can just re-explain that difference there, Clinton.
I think part of the confusion comes is whether or not it is a surplus farm severance or not. And it already is a separate lot. They're just changing the size of it. So, and then adding that portion onto the adjacent farm parcel. So my interpretation, it would not be considered a surplus farm severance because it's already a separate lot and they're not creating a new lot. So from that perspective, I don't see it being an issue. There may or may not be issues with respect to the size of it and taking all of the frontage on that one side, etc. But those are different issues than whether or not it's a surplus farm severance or not.
Okay. Fair enough. Thank you.
Are there any other council members wishing to ask any questions at this time? So I'll just, I'll go one step further than Councillor Shipston, Clinton. So perhaps what I didn't read was that the intent was to merge the remaining or the remaining parcel with a neighboring property. So there is no new lot creation and there's no new entrance on Southgate 41. We're not there's no potential for, you know, a house to be built on that retained. I guess there's another file that will come to merge the remaining property, or will that happen automatically? Clinton?
So the issues around this are there will be a consent, but before we can bring forward the consent application, we have to address the official plan policy first in terms of allowing it to proceed. Okay, so they're designated prime agricultural lands, which limit severances and particularly undersized lots and making farm lots smaller. So that's where part of the issue comes in. And then the second part of the issue is access to the I guess it would be severed portion that's to be added, because there is a creek on the property that basically splits it in two, and whether or not there's sufficient access then to get to that remnant parcel if they're going to take the entire frontage on 109. So that would be the other concern for them to look at going forward.
Okay, thank you. All right, hearing no other questions from council or the public, I'll move on to the next file. Thank you, Genevieve, and thank you, anyone who's listening. The next file is, take care. The next file is C421, Alan D. Martin. Subject land is described as Concession 7, Part Lot 30, RP16R7019, Part 2, Geographic Township of Croton. Civic address is 712776 Southgate Side Road 71. The purpose of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application is to shift the exception zone area A1348 to allow for a 150 meter squared building to be constructed for storage of metal products and materials. Shop will be remaining the same size and the outside storage will be reduced and moved. The outside storage area is proposed to be 100 meters squared. The effect of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment would be to shift the zone boundary to allow for the construction of a building to be used for storage. The area with the shop will continue to be zoned A1-348. Any environmental protection zone boundary may be adjusted based on Conservation Authority comments. May I please have confirmation from the clerk that proper notice was given with in accordance with the Planning Act?
Yes, thank you, Chair Dobrain. I can confirm that proper notice was given in accordance with the Planning Act.
Thank you very much. I will now ask for our planner, Clinton Stredwick, to review any correspondence received from commenting agencies and members of the public.
Thank you, Chair Dobrain. Just a note in the agenda, it has that listed as C421, and I believe it is C422.
So the agenda is C421, but you're correct. The actual notice is C422. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that.
Okay, so the first comment I have here is from the Public Works Department. They're indicating that it's a rural asphalt road, and the entrance requirements that there's a commercial paved apron already installed. That makes sense because this is for what the application is for, is to change the outside storage to inside storage, and so they want to build a structure around where the outside storage would be. The Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority indicate that the application is acceptable to the SVCA staff. The County of Grey, the comments that we have here indicate the proposal, it's recommended that a decision on this proposal be deferred until such time that the on-farm diversified use size provisions in Table 8 and Section 522, 516 can be achieved in, and that's the table from the County of Grey official plan. It actually limits the size based on the area of the lot, and so they're recommending that they have to accommodate those. So we'll look at that accordingly before we bring it back to council. And that is all of the comments I have received on that file.
Thank you. Are there any questions or discussion from council at this time? I will now ask if the applicant or agent is present. Please identify yourself by stating your name for the record. Would you like to make any representation on your application? Is there anyone present who would like to make a submission in support of this application? If so, please unmute yourself and state your name, your full name and address for the clerk while at the virtual podium. Is there anyone who wishes to make a submission in opposition to the application? Are there any questions or further discussion from members of council? I'm not sure if we lost Councillor Shipston. It looks like I think we lost Councillor Shipston. I had a question. I'll give Councillor Shipston a chance to to get back on. Here he comes. Clinton, you mentioned the various agencies, but they were not listed in the agenda. I'm going to guess that they came in later after the agenda had been published. So that'll be updated and available on the website, correct, Lindsay?
Yes, I actually was reading
Clinton?
from the website. They did
Okay,
come in
great.
late. And
Okay, that's awesome. We got them though. That's the main thing.
yeah.
Okay, super. Councillor Shipston, welcome back. Did you have any comments before we go to the next file?
No, not really. Just it makes sense. He's a steel manufacturer, so it would be far more diligent for him to have storage for his raw material inside. So it's just common sense, really. So no issues as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
Did you hear me?
Yes, we did. Thank you very much, Councillor
okay.
Shipston.
Thank you.
So we'll move on. Yeah, no problem. I'm going to make sure I'm on the right track. We will move on to the next file, which is C5-22 JFAB Manufacturing, Inc. The location of the subject land is Concession 4, Lot 38, Geographic Township of Proton. The purpose of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application is to allow for an agricultural related use being a small-scale dry industrial use shop. The owners wish to add the shop to the list of permitted uses for the property. The shop, including office and power room, is proposed to be up to 750 meters squared with outside storage of approximately 500 meters squared. The effect of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment would be to change the zone on a portion of the subject lands from agricultural A1 to agricultural exception zone, A1 dash, whatever that number ends up being. Any environmental protection zone boundary may be adjusted based on the Conservation Authority comments. May I please have confirmation from the clerk that proper notice was given in accordance with the Planning Act?
Yes, Chair Dobrein, proper notice was given in accordance with the Planning Act. I can confirm that.
Thank you. I will now ask our planner, Clinton Stredwick, who isn't used to speaking this much, I don't think, to review correspondence received from commenting agencies and the general public, if any.
Thank you, Chair Dobrein. It's a busy time of year, I guess.
It is.
So the first comment I have is from the County of Grey. And the County of Grey, just so Council is aware, this was received April 26th. So
yeah,
they're before the meeting. The County of Grey transportation staff have reviewed the subject application and have noted that a commercial entrance permit is required and that the applicant has proceeded to apply for this permit and no other concerns were raised. It's recommended that D6 guidelines be achieved for the proposed on-farm diversified use and that MDS be considered if indicated within Southgate zoning bylaw. The county have no further concerns with the subject application. The Grand River Conservation Authority, Grand River, have no objection to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application. The Public Works Department indicate that it's Grey County jurisdiction for Grey Road 8 and Southgate Road 8 is township jurisdiction. Entrance requirements, is Grey County jurisdiction if it's on Grey Road 8, and obviously if they're going to have an entrance on the township road, it would be 08. It would be Southgate's jurisdiction. And that's all the comments from Public Works. The Historic Saugeen Métis have no objection. And that's all of the comments received on this file.
Wonderful. Okay. So are there any questions or discussions from council at this time?
I'm good, Barb.
Oh, I thought Councillor Sherson just unmuted, but I guess he muted again. I will now ask the applicant or agent if he or she is present to please identify yourself by stating your name for the record. Would you like to make any representation with regard to your application? Is there anyone present who would like to make a submission in support of this application? Is there anyone present who would like to make a submission in opposition to this application? Are there any questions? Last call for members of council. Hearing none, we will move on
Barb.
to, oh, yes, Councillor Shipston.
Yeah, sorry, Chair. Clinton,
Okay.
commercial, that's going to be the paved frontage?
You're muted, Clinton.
I didn't catch that comment.
Oh, you said the commercial driveway is going to be the pavement at the front,
Uh,
whether or not it's county or township, or
just hang on a second.
paved apron? Paved apron, that's what I'm trying to say.
I believe it depends on if the entrance will be on County Road 8, where you would go from a gravel to a paved road, or if it would be gravel to a gravel road if the entrance was on Southgate Road 8.
Yeah, right now it's proposed to be from Gray Road 8, and therefore the entrance permit and everything would be handled by the County of Gray.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shipston. Well, hearing no other comments or questions, we can move on to the final application. We're in the final stretch. C7-21. No, 22. C7-22. We're moving into the new year, Clinton. Location, the applicant is Marbros Construction, Inc. Civic address, legal description is concession 3, lot 191 and 192, geographic township Proton. Civic address 280092 Artemisia Southgate Town Line. The purpose of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application is to allow for an on-farm diversified use, being a small-scale dry industrial use shop. The owners wish to add the shop to the list of permitted uses for the agricultural A1 zone. The shop, including office and power room, is proposed to be up to 750 meters squared with future storage of approximately 500 meters squared. This storage may be outside or it may be enclosed. The effect of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment would be to change the zone symbol on a portion of the subject lands to permit the dry industrial use shop within a new agricultural exception zone A1-XXX. Any environmental protection zone boundary may be adjusted based on Conservation Authority comments. May I please have confirmation from the clerk that proper notice was given in accordance with the Planning Act?
Thank you, Chair Dobreen. Pardon me. Yes, proper notice was given in accordance with the Planning Act. I can confirm that.
Thank you. I will now ask our planner, Clinton Strudwick, to review correspondence received from commenting agencies and any from the public.
Thank you, Chair Dobreen. First comments I have are from the Conservation Authority. They do note the presence of threatened and endangered species, and it'll be up to the applicant to contact MECP in regard to addressing that issue. Other than that, they find the proposal is acceptable to the SVCA staff. The County of Gray indicates Why is that not? Sorry.
It's okay. Take your time.
Says under the county official plan, on-farm diversified uses are permitted under both the agricultural and rural land use types. And as per table 8, a maximum size of 8,000 square meters, where the gross floor area of all buildings shall not exceed 20% of the total area of the on-farm diversified use. Provided the proposed area to be rezoned is within the size provisions outlined, they appear to be well within these parameters. Staff have no concerns. Public Works indicates it's a rural gravel road. Commercial entrance is required to be installed if it hasn't been already. They have no objection, and that's all of the commenting agencies I've received, and I have no comments received from members of the public.
Thank you, Clinton. Are there any questions or discussion from council at this time? Councillor Shipston.
Through the chair. Clinton, I looked on the little map and there was a couple of ponds there. Are they man-made or is that what the Conservation Authority is looking at? I thought I saw a couple of ponds. It's just the drawing, not the map. I'm trying to find it, sorry.
I know there's a wetland at the back of it.
Yeah.
Just
here we go. Page 178. It's got those two ponds there.
Okay, at the front of it there.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know if they're man-made or not.
Okay.
The Conservation Authority didn't appear to have any issues with that, though.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
If I might, Chair Dobrain, I believe either Solomon or Simeon may be able to answer that when we get to them. They are on the line, I note.
Yes. Thank you, Lindsay. I will now ask if the applicant or agent is present. Please identify yourself by stating your name for the record. Would you like to make any representation regarding your application or perhaps respond to Councillor Shipston's question? You would need to unmute yourself if you do want to make representation. Go ahead, Mr. Meriton. We're not hearing anything. Clinton, go ahead.
I actually just received a text from Simon Martin there indicating that they were man-made and before he moved there. So
Okay.
That will answer
Thank
that
you.
question.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone present who would like to make a submission in support of this application, other than the applicant? Is there anyone present who would like to make a submission in opposition to this application? Are there any questions or further discussion from members of council? Hearing none, I can adjourn this public meeting as we have completed all of the files as presented. And now I know why Mayor Woodbury had a conflict. That was a lot of talking. Thank you very much, Clinton. Thank you all for, and Lindsay and Holly and everyone.
Thank you,
who joined us.
Councillor Thank you, Councillor Dobreen, as well, for jumping in last minute there to chair.
Good job.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Have a
Have a
good
good
afternoon.
afternoon.